There you go.
There you go.
Hello, I'm talking to Peter Wakefield, who is the well-known Esoteric Astrologer, and we're going to talk about the rays, the 7 rays, which a little mention is made of them when astrology is talked of generally. And actually, we're talking about manifesting energy through the rays via astrology, because the rays underpin astrology. And that is what astrology is. It shows us how people manifest energy and how energy will manifest through them. So it's both an inner and an outer thing, but energy is manifesting all the time through us, and underpinning all that are the rays. So the 7 rays literally is something which is responsible for the way we resonate, who we resonate to and with. So in family groups and in commercial groups, working groups, recreational groups, people come together through the magnetism of the rays. I think I've described that, have I, Peter?
Yeah,
quite accurately.
That's quite accurate.
Can we talk firstly about, or can you explain what the 7 rays are and what loosely they do, each ray does?
The 7 rays are the builders of form.
Yeah.
If we imagine energy or white light hitting the prism, it splits and splinters into 7 aspects of itself, which we refer to as the spectrum. Now, the 7 rays derive from this one source, which we term the logos, the solar logos, if you like. And each of these 7 rays represents a pathway, an archetypal pathway in life. They have been referred to as the builders of form. They build specific life energies. They streamline certain morphologies, and in terms of the human personality, that means attitudes and behaviours. In terms of the physical body, that would include ectomorph, mesomorph and endomorph, for example.
Which are the main types of the physical shape within a person? Mass.
Yeah.
Mass within people.
And each energy, each ray energy, archetypal energy, means that you are attracted to similar types of people. For example, if you are of a 2nd ray energy, it means you are a teacher and healer in life.
2nd ray being love wisdom.
2nd ray being love wisdom. 1st ray being the ray of the manufacturer,
will and power,
the innovator, which is one of will and power. So we tend to, through the law of attraction, stick to or adhere to people of a similar disposition. So these 7 types of energy will streamline into our vicinity, into the prismatic personality, according to what type of volition we have. If we are of a mental, if we emphasize mental volition mainly, or emotional volition, or physical volition, prana and energy follows thought.
Yeah.
So it would explain why certain individuals are more cerebral, other individuals are more emotional, and others are just totally directed by their physical exertions.
So what, in essence, what we're saying is that the ray groups overlay or underpin karma in a societal or a group or collective sense.
Yes, each archetype has its own cause and effect, its own sphere of influence.
So it makes us tribal as a species, really, doesn't it?
Well, the rays in their raw element would indicate each of the chakras. And when we're beginning out in our evolution, that is the evolution of humanity, it would start out in a tribal sense. And each of us has got a primeval or tribal inheritance somewhere down the line.
So I'm thinking particularly about, say, football followings, people who are great fans of football, or people who join religious organisations, or people who want to join dance groups, or whatever. In that sense, there's an emotional urge to belong within a certain...
There's a volition, isn't there, to want to interact with people of a similar ilk.
So, if in those three examples, then, football following is what ray, would you say?
Well, it's a devotion.
Six ray.
It's ray 6, which is the ray of devotion and idealism. Most of humanity, I would say 60% of humanity, have an emotional body that is responsive to idealism and devotion. It's part of our racial characteristic and inheritance from the days of Christianity and so on.
And isn't it true to say that Pisces resonates very much to the 6th ray?
Yeah, 50% of the rays of Pisces is 6th ray.
Do you think of any other sign that's very...
Sorry, let me correct myself. 40% of the rays of Pisces is 2nd ray. And 40% of Virgo is 2nd ray. 60% of Virgo is 6th ray. So Virgo is a more 6th ray sign than Pisces, although there's a lot of 6th ray in Pisces as well.
Okay. What about people who incline to religious or cult sort of organisations?
Yeah,
is that 6th ray?
Again, it's the ray of devotion. It's what we are devoted to. We could be devoted to sport. We could be devoted to science. We could be devoted to art. In whatever field of whatever field is your focal point, it's still devotion.
So what you're saying is whatever the common denominator of the group, which brings them together, that might be different, but it's the groupings themselves are 6th ray. All groupings are to do with the 6th ray.
Well, certain groupings are 2nd ray.
Like, for instance,
meditation group,
right?
Although that might start off as a devotional cause.
Yeah, I would have said so.
That suddenly changes to the polarity of the 2nd ray.
Right.
With the disciplines. You see,
Right.
there is each of the rays suggests certain disciplines. For example, there are 7 yogas. The 6th ray yoga is Bhakti yoga, the ray of devotion, where you get Hare Krishna type of energy. The 1st ray discipline is Raj Yoga, which is mental exercises and discipline. So each of the rays has disciplines, and discipline is a dirty word for a lot of human beings, whether we like to accept that or not.
Well, it simply means remit, really, doesn't it?
It means...
in a commercial sense, it means my discipline
rebuilding yourself.
Engineering, or it's medicine or whatever.
Discipline is basically rebuilding yourself around a higher set of values. That's what it ultimately means.
So what about people who join together for scientific research, say people who join observatories?
Well, this is ray 5.
Yes.
Ray 5 is the ray of science.
Yes.
It is the ray of logic.
So the 6th ray is missing altogether in that case, or not?
No, not at all.
Right.
The 5th ray may have a mental attunement.
Right.
So a personality may have a 5th ray mental body, but with a 6th ray astral body. Or the 5th ray may be influencing the personality and the mental ray. Where you get 2 ray 5s, the person has difficulty in having an open mind. They're quite rigid in outlook.
All right.
They're quite disciplined in outlook, and because of that, they don't like to change. Change is anathema to them.
So what about, say, the uprising, the interest of cooking, all the programmes that they're on? What ray would that be?
Well, that's ray 6. I mean, we could go
Purely
on
ray
endlessly
6.
Listing subject
this is why
after
it's
subject, but
fascinating.
devotion the ray of devotion will follow wherever our focal point
But
will
so
be.
is sixth ray food as well, then, the love of making food?
Very much so, because the stomach, the solar plexus chakra, is mature in humanity. It does not need any more stimulation. That has been done in the previous round of Atlantis.
Right.
Now we need to focalize our volitions on the brow chakra and opening the heart center and interplaying with the brow chakra. Really, we take succor from all the stress in society by overeating, overdrinking, because this is what the archetype suggests that we do. A lot of us will take refuge in eating. Well, that's very different to the culinary skills, the gastronomic intellectualism that's happening at the moment. That's very different. But from a society's point of view, we are taking too much refuge in food and in drink as a prop to deal with life stresses.
So in bodily satisfactions, in other words.
Yeah, there's a lot of overindulgence, isn't there?
And what ray is that again?
That's ray 6,
Okay.
solar plexus.
Okay. What about ray 7, which is, I understand, ritual, love and magic?
Well, magic is performed at the very beginning of our lives with the interaction of our mother and father, producing and regenerating themselves through the child. That is what we term magic. That is the sacral centre. It's allied to the endocrine glands known as the testes in the male and the egg of the female. What do we call it? The ovum, I think.
Yeah.
So the regenerative
the eggs,
organs in male and female relate to the sacral centre. And ray 7 is the ray of magic, ceremonial order and ritual. And the definition, of course, of magic is to make manifest or materialise that which is within. And so when two people come together and they want a child, they make manifest a child.
Manifesting energy.
So ray 7 is manifesting.
That's the ultimate of manifesting energy, is producing a
That's
child.
why I've used that example.
Yeah. Okay. So, because it strikes me that in where we are now in society, people are more and more searching for places to belong. So groups and activities and little niche interests. People want to belong, or main interests. There's a need, as we become so huge as a species on the planet. I think there is a greater and greater need for people to define through their interests and through the kind of attraction they have to other people via passions and various desires and interests to belong in that sense.
Yes.
And I think the rays, this is why the rays are very interesting, because through the auspice of the chart, it will show the propensity that people have to taking certain branch roads that lead them into certain vocations, certain callings, certain pastimes. And this is very much a matter of the rays.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll give you an example. The ray 6, which is prevalent in society and through most human beings, used to be prevalent in the age of Pisces, when the age of religion and the age of the church was beginning to be built up over the last 2,000 years. Now we're on a cusp of change with Aquarius, and all that devotion which used to go into religion and the church and monasticism and that type of thing now goes towards sport mainly. You see it in football, where you can have 70,000, 60,000 people amassing together in a stadium, and they express their devotion in a different way.
Well, you can see it also through the kind of concerts, pop
Music
concerts
as
and
well
things.
is very emotional.
People gather
yes.
together in arenas
Yes.
of massive size. So I
That as
think
well,
that
yeah.
music is just as
Yeah,
music
absolutely.
is bigger than ever it was.
Music as well.
What ray
music
is
and
music?
sport. A 6/4.
6 and 4 combined.
Yeah, it's emotional and artistic at the same time.
Right. Okay. Right, well, I think that gives us a good resume of the rays, and in the next talk we'll be talking about a little about when rays change and how they change and if they can change. So thank you, and join us next time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.